Okay.
All right, Bam, welcome to the show, dude. I'm so glad to have you on and hear your story, dude. You're an inspirational guy. I see you out running and tearing it up on Instagram all the time, and it looks like you are about a month off of Rocky Raccoon 100 too. It looks like you did really well this year.
Yeah, man, it was a really good race. I think we went out a little harder than we wanted to. Again, is that ego, man. The hardest part of ultra is controlling that ego.
You went at it too hard?
Yeah, I think our training, it's my fifth rock. So it's a Bandera Rocky challenge, we call it. So we go out of Bandera 100K, and 3 weeks later we do Rocky 100. So we call it the Bandera Rocky challenge. So this is my fifth year doing that.
Okay. This is you and some buddies, or is this an organized group? Or
it's just kind of like one of those, you know how ultra guys have it. How many do you have? I got, we always up one, right? So it's kind of like, I've got 5 Rockies. Because at Rocky, you get a buckle for a 500 buckle and a 1,000 buckle. So we always try to add it up, and it's okay. Let's see how harder. Well, let's go Bandera Rocky. So because Bandera is so hard of a race, you have 3 weeks to recover, then turn around and do 100 miler. So yeah, it's. I think the older we get, it's harder. It's harder.
Oh, for sure. No, that's a legit challenge right there. Oh, you got some bling up there. Yeah, looking good. So how many Rockies have you done now?
That's 5. That's 500.
Okay.
Yeah, 5.
So you got the 500 buckle, and you're going for the 1,000.
Yeah, I haven't decided if I want to, because you can trade one in. You could trade 2 for 1 500. So I hadn't decided if I want to do that.
Okay. Well, listen, man. Let's get into it. How did this all start for you? Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? How did it all start for you?
Yeah, well, I used to play baseball and basketball growing up, and you have that competitiveness as a kid, right? You're wired and programmed to compete and win. That's how you're wired. So when after 18, 19, what do you have left, right? So that's when the addiction came into play, because you can't just shut the mind off. The mind is still wants the next high, right? So how you started with just a couple of beers, and next 15 years later you wake up with a hangover,
Mm-hmm.
So then that's when Ultrarunner came into play. I'd been sober about 2 years, kind of like wandering around life, and I'm like, there's something else. And I heard about running, and I heard about Boston, and it's always, let's catch the next high, and that's where we're at right now, trying to catch Western States 100. It's our huge goal right now. Should have 16 tickets, but we didn't get that counted that 1 year of COVID.
Okay. That's the goal race for you as Western States?
Yeah, that's the Mecca.
Nice.
I'm using all these races to get there. But I mean, I would love to do Badwater, 135, do them all,
Yeah, you're gonna probably hate me, but I got into Western States with 1 ticket back in.
Everybody do it. It's crazy, man. So you've done it already?
I've done it. Yeah, that was in I want to say like 2015 or something. Oh, dude, it was fantastic. Once you get in, dude, you're gonna love it. It's epic, dude. You're gonna love it.
Dude, how was your experience?
Oh, it was fantastic, man. It was a beautiful day. It was so hot. It was like 130 degrees down in those canyons. Like every time there was a water crossing, you just take off your hydration pack and fully immerse in the water. It was so hot, dude. That was the year that Timothy Olson won it, I think, for maybe his second time. And yeah, dude, I barely made it in under 24 hours. I made it like 20. Wow. It was like 23:50. Yeah. But just a tremendous experience. One of those things that you'll never forget. So good luck on getting in, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your experience too, man.
Yeah.
But let's get into it from the beginning. You said that after you did some sports in school, and then afterwards it was kind of the addiction thing kind of kicked in. So like what did that look like when you were really in the throes of your addiction, when you were really, really struggling? Was it just alcohol? Was it drugs as well? What was going on?
Yeah, it was all alcohol. And I was going through 230 packs and an 18 pack of Corona in 7 days, and I would recover 1 day, and I would do it again, and they would just do it again. And that literally did for 15 years, man. And, one day my wife just kind of came to me and said, if you take one more drink. And that was that was it. You know, I had to change, and I knew, and it was hard because when you're an addict, you can't just stop. You know, that's what you have. And that's 10.5 years ago. 11. This Father's Day will be 11 years sober. So
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, congrats, man. That's awesome. And it sounds like you and I are just wired the same way, man. I've had my struggles with alcohol in the past. When you decided it was time to quit, did you like go to any sort of a program or anything, or did you just cold turkey quit it on your own?
Yeah, I just quit cold turkey. The first 3 months, I mean, first 6 months, it's hard. Like I tell people, like, you know, as an addict, you're willing to lose everything, you know? You can't, nothing really matters but that taste, that drink, and you feel like crap. But man, you have to, I always tell people, you have to have something worth fighting for and living for. And that was my family. That was the only thing that kept me going. And but at those moments, you fight every day. When people tell you today, just don't worry about tomorrow, just today, right now, this moment. And I think that comes into play in ultra marathons, because when you're in those deep holes, those dark moments in those, you know, mile 80, mile 90, and you're like, man, I don't know if I can go on. You know, I had a tough 50K at Bandera, 32, I bonk really hard. So it's 2 loops of 50K. And I'm just like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. I do that every year. I don't know if I want to do this every year. I hit bad wall, bad spots. And then you're like, you just, at that moment, you just got to keep moving forward and just say, you know, I've been in worse spots and I can do that. So there's something with addiction and ultra marathons that I haven't figured it out yet. Why are addicts the best ultra runners, right? I think it's because they've hit so many low lows and they've been in the worst spots that we're like, this is nothing. We just got to keep walking forward. And I think that's life. Just keep walking forward, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Just one foot in front of the other, man. It's just,
it.
It's a constant grind, but, all right, man. So, and I think your microphone might've cut out for a second there, but you said that your wife came to you and said that she wants you to quit drinking. So your wife kind of came to you and gave you an ultimatum. So, like, where were you working at the time? I think you live in Texas now. Were you living in Texas then? I'm just trying to paint a picture here and see what.
Yeah. I've been in the same neighborhood for 15 years. Yeah. I drive for UPS, and it was just, I just think when you're young, you're stressed out. You know, you're a young father. You have everything on you. You don't know how to release. You don't know how to communicate. You don't know. So that was our out, you know, and alcohol was my out. That was kind of like my relaxation. And yeah, it was just one day. I mean, and she was for real. She didn't play around. She said, one more drink, I'm out. And I could see it in her eyes. That was it. And it was hard, you know, it was hard for me to stop, but I knew I had to.
Why did she say that to you? Were you out of control? Was it chaos? Were you violent? Like, what was going on?
Yeah. So I just pushed the envelope, you know how it is. You just start with, you know, 230 packs, 18 pack, and it was just never ending. Like, I had alcohol on me all the time. If you didn't have alcohol, I didn't want to hang out with you. If there was a party, didn't have alcohol, I didn't want to go. If, you know, I just had it all around me, and it just, you know, I was overweight. I was 230 pounds, just sloppy, drunk, you know, hangovers. And it just got to the point. Like I always tell people, I'm surprised she's still with me, you know? Yeah. And it's crazy how you have to go through those dark moments to really appreciate the good moments.
100%. So, okay. So it sounds like you were overweight, really, really struggling. Life wasn't pretty. And your wife came to you with an ultimatum. So what were those first few days like? I mean, the first week without alcohol, after you've been drinking every single day, just about for years and years, was it a real struggle right from the beginning? Like, what was going through your head?
Yeah, it's brutal. Like, you know, you get the shakes. I could go pretty good till about that Friday. And that Friday, see, we'd have to go. You couldn't buy alcohol in our county. You had to go 30 minutes out. And so I'm like, why am I going to go for a 6-pack? Right. So I'll get like 2 30 packs. So that was the hardest of Friday. If I can get through Friday and just reset, it's crazy how the mind just resets. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let me just get through Friday to Saturday, and I don't have to worry about it. And that was it. That was my little struggles that Friday. It's like those little triggers. And as long as I get through over that Friday, and for some reason it was that Friday, it was that last drive that my body was so used to going that I just had to just break that little cycle and just break the cycle and overcome that little cycle. And it's crazy how our minds, how we're programmed. you know exactly what I'm saying,
Oh,
right?
I do. I do. No, I remember many Fridays driving home from work, going by the same liquor store that I normally stopped at, going, there's my spot. And I bet you I know the guy that's working there. But this time I'm going home and I'm going to try not to drink tonight. And
How
it was
long you been
just
sober?
about 6 years.
Man, congratulations.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks. But yeah, you're right. There is something with recovering alcoholics and ultra running, man. And I don't know exactly what it is either. It's like back when we were using, we would get so messed up. And so you're in the adjectives they use for it is wrecked, destroyed,
Trashed.
plowed, trashed. And then
Yeah.
you get sober and you discover ultra running, and it's almost like a new way to get trashed, to get wrecked. It's like a new, healthier way, maybe. It's not as destructive as drinking, obviously, but yeah, there's a weird correlation there. I think everybody's been trying to figure that out for years, man.
But I'm just surprised how the body just adapts. It was crazy. Like, like I always tell people, there's breakthroughs and not just mental breakthroughs, but your body, it just adapts to it. You just have to keep pushing through, and your body's stretched. I remember my first Rocky 100. I had my left knee and everything was like, man, this sucks. But by the second, about third, I could keep going. I tell people I could keep going. So that's what really amazes me about the mind and the body. As long as you have something to focus on, something huge, the mind and the body will recover and keep going. And there's something there with addiction. I think if you realize with people that are have that addiction, is they're very creative people. You notice that they're very creative people. So you have to really challenge them. So if they're not challenged, they kind of get bored and they almost kind of find the easiest high to kind of trash themselves.
Meaning like junk food or soda or something like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, anything that's easy high, anything. It's kind of like they almost kind of get comfortable with life, and they're not challenged. And I think with us, like right now, I'm looking at 6-7 months already ahead. Like I've got a Wisconsin 50 miler in May, Habanero 100. The Habanero 100, he gives you your money back if you sub a 24 hour. That's how hard that 100 is.
Whoa.
And then Cactus 100, which is unsupportive race at Bandera. You drop your food and then you just go out for 100 miles. So my mind's already excited about my whole year plan, right? And I think that's something about the addicts. You have to really challenge them. And I think, like, if I'm not challenged, if people don't challenge me, I get bored. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's something about Ultrarunner that we hadn't figured out yet that I love. I absolutely love about it.
Yeah, me too, man. And it sounds like it's the drive that's motivating you. It's the next race that's motivating you to get out the door every day and train. I'm just curious, like, as a recovering addict, like, what would happen to you if there wasn't a race to train for, or God forbid you were injured and you couldn't train for 6 months? Like, how do you handle that sort of pressure?
One thing that I have learned that I really love, now I'm at a point that I've been sober for so long that I have so much joy. Running brings so much joy to me that I like to give it back, right? Like I could see the whole race in my head, and I could see numbers. I could see heart rate numbers, and I could see like miles 60, 70. Look, you're not burning any fuel. You see what I'm saying? Like you need to get some fuel in there. And I think giving back has really brought a lot of joy to me. So if something ever happened to me, just giving back to somebody that, I think that's where it's at. That's like, there's always something about giving back.
Yeah. And you're doing coaching now, is that right?
Yeah. So one thing, have you noticed that from 100K to 100 mile, it's a very small, only a few people there's something about my 80 to 100, right? So it's getting there and learning everything you can out of there and just trying to help people get through it, and try. I think 100 milers, we identify hard, so we stop. We don't ever try. So I always tell people, don't identify my 80 to 100 as hard. Just keep pushing yourself out there. And don't worry about DNFs. Don't worry about anything. Just push yourself through that threshold and just gather information and come back. We'll figure it out as we go. So there's something about the mind. There's something about having somebody that's been there enough that you can quiet the mind. There's something about the mind that I really, really love,
Yeah, it's the most powerful tool we have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. How did you hear of ultra marathons? So after you got sober, you said it was like a couple months after you got sober and you started running. Like,
No, I did. It was a whole year and a half, almost a whole year and a half.
oh, okay.
So I was
Okay.
just going to the gym. I'm kind of like, I didn't have that high. I mean, I was just going to the gym. You know how you go to the gym, you kind of feel good, but there's nothing like those endorphins and that high, right? And then one of my buddies, the next year is around 2014 is when I started. He told me about a half marathon, right? I'm 220 pounds. I'm about 200 pounds, 210. And he's like, man, it's a half marathon. And I'm like, what's 13 miles? Anybody can run 13 miles, right? And so I didn't train. I just went out there and just ran as hard as I could. I ran a 137. That was it. I won my age group and it was over. Like it was as high that I've ever had. And I'm going to work and I'm telling all my friends, I just ran a half marathon. And they're looking at me like, this dude. And then I'm telling, so one of my friends said, what are you going to do? Go to Boston next? And I'm like, yeah, why not? How could it be so hard? And they laughed at me. I mean, these guys literally laughed in my face. And I'm like, I had so much, I was a little aggravated, a little pissed that I said, I'm going to do it in 1 year. And in 1 year, the next year, 2017, I was in Boston Marathon and I ran a 2:53 that year.
Whoa. Okay.
And that's just the way we're built to just jump and just go, hit the ground running. You just go. Like, I don't ask questions. We figure it out as we go. And that's how it was with the 100 milers or the 100Ks. And same thing with that, my first 100K. People said, man, because I did Cowtown 50 after Boston, doing 3 Bostons. I did Cowtown 50K, and I ran like a 3:37. So it's like a 6:45 pace through 32 miles. And they told me, oh, that's not really an ultra run. You really have to go into the ultra world. And I said, well, what's the hardest ultra marathon? They said, Habanero 100. So I went out there and did that 100K that same year, and I ended up winning that 100K. And that's how I was wired. I just go. You just go. I don't worry about anything. I don't try to label success and failure. Nothing. I just go. And that is my only DNF. So that's where I learned about the ego and about, the ego. That was like, okay, now there's something else about it when you step from the 100K distance to the 100K miler, because I went in there without anything and I just jumped into the 100 miler and it was my first DNF, my only injury in 5 years in the ultra world. And I said, oh, that's what they're talking about, the ego, So now at the beginning of it, that's what we created. Bam. Bam is badass Mexican. So that's really not my name. That's my ego that I have to control when he wants to tell me, hey, let's go have a drink. Hey, let's go out with buddies. That's my ego. So I have to control my ego. Say, hey, chill out, dude. Hey, chill out. Let me enjoy this race, And it's hard. That's the hardest thing, is to control your ego. So hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's what we're at now, is trying to, still to this day, trying to control the ego.
Isn't that funny? Me too. How old are you?
43.
Okay. Yeah, I'm 47, and same thing here, man. It's like, yeah, eventually took all these years to get sober, and then I'm still trying to work on that ego, man. And I guess that's so just
hard. But those 100 models, they'll humble you,
Oh, for sure,
They will humble you. There's one guy that was at Rocky 100. He has the most 100. I think he's number 2 in the world. He's got like 300 plus hundreds, right? And he passes me. And he's just like older. He's just like, wow, and just going sideways. He does it sideways because he's been pushing his body for so long. And I'm like, why do you do this, dude? I'm at 7, right? And he's like 300. And he's kind of just smiled and he just kept going. I think we all have to have our why that keeps us going, and understand the ego. As long as we understand our why and understand the ego, I think you can go forever.
Well, that's a good point, man. What is your why? What do you tell yourself at mile 90 when it's really hard out there?
My why is my alcohol. Like, this is my alcohol, right? I could easily overdo it. I can easily have a hangover if I just go out and just trash my body. So one thing I've learned is just try to pace myself. I think, life in special ultra was pace yourself. There's plenty of time if you can pace yourself through life. I think everybody's journey is that, just like a 100 miler. If you go out too hard, we went out hard. The first loop at Rocky, we went out hard. And it's hard to say, just pace yourself. Pace yourself. Life is about pacing yourself. I want to do this when I'm 80 years old, so just pace yourself. And that's my why. I said, I just don't want to overdo it. I don't want to get burned out. I love it. I'm passionate about the ultra world. There's something about seeing people suffer and everybody's feeling the same pain together. Like, there's something about that, right? Like, we're all going through it together and we encourage each other. That's one thing that the pavement world is not there. It doesn't have. They're so competitive, where in the ultra world, we want everybody to succeed. We want everybody to overcome the struggle that we're going through at that moment. And I always tell people, when I'm hurting, they're hurting. And I was like, you paid for this. You paid for this. You pay for this moment. Remember, you pay some good money for this moment. Don't let it go to waste. Keep pushing forward, and just, you know, and that's what it's all about. Just keep pushing forward, one step in front of the other.
Yeah. Yeah. You said you've only had one DNF?
Yeah, one DNF. That Habanero 100, my first 100 at Habanero, I DNF'd it, and I just had I was overtrained. I was running 100-mile weeks. I walk 40, 50 miles at UPS already, so I was doing 150-mile weeks and probably not eating enough. And you know, I always tell people that's how you learn. It's not failure; it's you learn. You just got to keep moving. I'm still to this day, I don't know anything. That's why I tell people I don't know anything. But that's how you learn, is when you go into a situation saying, you know, I'm here to learn. And you learn more when you do that, instead of the ego saying, oh, I got this, I got this. But it's so hard, right? Because that's the hardest part, is that ego part.
Yes, sir. But that was your first 100-miler. So the DNF is sort of understandable. Were you, okay, so you were overtrained going into it, or you had an injury, or what actually caused the DNF?
Yeah, so I was overtraining myself. I was digging myself a hole, and that's what caused that runner's knee. I usually run I like being about 172. That's just the way I'll run the strongest at 172 pounds, and I was down to 160. I mean, my legs were toothpicks. My quads, I don't know what it is, but it's hard for me to keep quads. So if I'm not doing the strength work for the quads, and it's just like overnight, it was like this. On my runner's knee, I couldn't run, and I was like, well, I'm just going to go and see. I knew I was going to DNF. I just wanted to see how far I could go with that pain, and it was 62 miles. And the race director said, you know, you can get your buckle 62 miles. And I told him, no, I didn't sign up for the 100K. I signed up for the 100-miler, and because that shut the ego off, right? That was a learning experience. It said, no, that did not work. Let me try something else. And it's always, you just got to keep trying until you find that puzzle. I always tell people, you have to see your future like a puzzle of 1,000, 2,000 pieces, and you're missing one, and you got to put it together. You got to keep putting it together until you find that puzzle that in your vision. You have to have a vision of your life. You see what I'm saying? And that was that puzzle that I have to find, and keep finding puzzles for it until I put that whole Western States 100 in my mind.
Yeah. What happens after Western States? Do you look at goals like, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? Like, what do you want to be doing later in life? Are you still going to be running ultras?
Yeah. I'm trying to, I try to take it. I tell you the truth, I haven't even thought about that, but I would like to get like some bad water, some Leadvilles. I think there's the possibilities that are endless. I have about 8 good years at UPS, and I think the ultra world, as long as you have a purpose in life, you can go forever. That's what I always tell people. And especially as a male, finding your purpose in life, I think you can go forever. And with ultra marathons, there's always something going on. So, like I said, one day, if I can't do it, always giving back. It's giving back the gift that I have, because there is something there. I always tell people, maybe I have a gift, maybe I don't, but it's always, you can't shortchange yourself. You always got to keep trying. And in my situation, just giving back to what has given my life. Like, without ultra running, I'll probably be dead.
Yeah. I mean, I think about that sometimes, like, where would I be without ultra running? And like, it seems to be a big part of your identity. So where would you be without ultra running? A sober guy with no passions, or like, where would you be right now?
Probably dead. Well, no, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even want to think like that. Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you the truth. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even, but it's like, people always say you control your destiny, as your destiny's already planned. So it's kind of like, I think it's already planned. I think we have to go through those struggles, and I think we have to, and that's what, but we have to choose our struggle, and I think that's, hopefully my story can help somebody that right now that doesn't believe they can even try 100-miler. It's like, don't even try 100-miler. Just do what you can. Just do what you can. Right. And I just think that maybe my story can help somebody just start.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And starting is the hard part, putting your shoes on for the first time, going out for that half-mile run, that's the hardest part right there. And then the month that precedes that's the hardest part. And then eventually, once you get some momentum, it starts to get a little bit easier. But what keeps bringing you back to Rocky Raccoon? Is it just that it's close to home for you?
But it's my birthday weekend. So it's how I celebrate being sober.
Okay. It's your sobriety birthday.
Yeah, so it's kind of like my wife is to just go and just enjoy your birthday. You know, we would get trashed. I would spend $200-300 on alcohol and invite everybody and just, you know, it's crazy that we celebrate big you know, birthdays and stuff, but we don't remember them, right? So I always try to remind myself Rocky 100 is that it's my birthday, to remind myself that moment. And you almost kind of it's almost the same feeling, right? Because you're trashing yourself. But like you said, it's an accomplishment. You get done, you're like, you could look back and say, man, and one day, I don't know. People ask me, how many am I going to do? I don't know. It's a guy that's got 17 right now, right? So I don't know. You know, I really don't know. I'm going to keep going until it doesn't challenge me.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any interest in any of the other races besides Western states? You said that's a big goal for you. What about Badwater? What about Leadville? What about some of these 200-mile races? Are those on your list?
Okay, so I try to stay away from the internet because my addictive personality there's some Arizona. Arizona has some badass races over there. I'm kind of looking at and I have to. So one thing I've learned is that I have to focus on one thing and then adapt to it. So right now I was trying to get adapted to Bandera, Rocky. Now we got Wisconsin, Habanero, Cactus. Now we can adapt to that. Then I can move up. It's adaptation. Our body just adapts to whatever we do, right? That's what's all about. So I'm trying to adapt there. And then kind of one of my coaches, it was like, you know, you're ready to go to the 200-miler, which I know I am, but I'm not ready to make that move yet. And yeah, I think that's my distance. Tell you the truth, I think my distance is the 200, the 200 plus mileage. And like the last man standing, I know I'd be good for that, but it's like addiction. I just don't want to I don't want to either get burned out or get hurt or I'm trying to pace myself throughout.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's a good approach. Which race are you doing in Wisconsin?
Yeah, Ice Age 50.
Oh, nice. I've done that race. You're going to like it, dude.
Yeah.
It's a tough 50. That's where I lived. I lived in Wisconsin for years. And so that was like a backyard race for me. It's a great race, man. The whole thing is going to be rolling hills. You're going to have a few bigger climbs than others, but the whole thing is rolling. But
it's an out and back, right?
I guess for the most part, it's pretty much out and back. Yeah. But it's a beautiful race, man. You're going to dig it. Why did you choose Ice Age?
One of my buddies lives down there in Minnesota, and they've done it a couple of times, and they've been trying to get me out there. And I just hear how beautiful it is, and I think the 50-mile distance is the perfect distance. You know,
so too.
Yeah. It's just like you can go out hard and you can suffer for 50 miles, and then you can say, "Okay, I'm done."
And you're done.
You know, with the 100K, it's like, okay, I got a little bit more. Okay, I'm done. The 100-miler is it's another ball game.
Yeah, 100 miles is going to take a day or a weekend, or it's another world for sure. 50-mile, you can go out there, run hard, and be done while it's still light out in the same day.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, I can still get home tonight. This is nice. Yeah. Well, so what other races are some of your big goals, or don't really think that far ahead?
Yeah, like I said, I'm just thinking Cactus 100 is the scariest one. That scares me. It's been 5 years. So that was my first real, because we don't really have trail runs, like Bandera. Bandera just another ball game, right? On paper it looks easy. On paper you're just like, I could do 62 miles, 7,200 gain. That's doable until you get there and you see the rocks. And you see how you know, it's insane how it's super technical, and you're like, how are these guys running an 8-minute pace to 62 miles through this, right? And so the 100-miler Cactus 100, it's like I said, it's unsupportive, and you drop all your food the day before, and you're just out by yourself. If you forget a flashlight, if you forget food, if you don't have enough food, and you're stranded out there by yourself, that's, you know, and it gets cold overnight. I think that's what makes it the hardest part of it, and I think that's the one that I'm kind of looking at. This has scared me forever. I ended up having a little cut in my knee at a 50K in September, so I couldn't do it this year. And they ended up changing it in the last minute to Camp Eagle. If you ever get a chance, Camp Eagle in J&J, that's a very tough place to run. And I was like, man, I don't want to go to Camp Eagle, you know. So Cactus 100 in October is kind of like right now that scares me. I think it scares me to death, tell you the truth.
Now, is that a point-to-point race?
No, it's a 425-mile loops, and then you go clockwise, counterclockwise. You do that 4 times at Bandera.
Okay. Okay. And there's like you go back to the start finish where your drop bags are, and that's where your support is.
Yeah, so it has like 3 aid stations, and you go clockwise, 3 aid stations, then go to start, then you go back the other way, and then you keep going. But it's super technical. It's got one called Lucky's Peak, and you're going straight up, and you have to use your elbows to climb all the way to the top. They got one called Ice Cream Cone Hill, and you go all the way around to the top, the highest point of the hills, and then it's super technical. It's brutal, and it only takes one fall. The cactuses, they don't play. You're bloody all over. Takes one ankle turnaround. I remember my first time there. I ran the 50 mile. I have a big scar because I hit a rock. I bonked. I didn't understand anything about fuel. I went out there with a banana, a Red Bull, and some peanuts that I just dropped because I didn't know anything about anything. But I always tell people that's how you learn. Just get out there and just figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Who are some of your inspirations? Do you look to anybody else for inspiration, or do you just kind of find it all within, or are you one of those guys that's on YouTube and Instagram looking for inspiration from other ultra runners?
So I don't really need much inspiration, but I have a lot of my, I have Harvey Lewis. Harvey Lewis.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I got to run with him at Rocky 19, and he's an extraordinary guy because if you get to know him, that's another place where I learned about the ego, because he was asking me about my races. I didn't know who he was, right? And he's like, and I'm like, I've done this, and I've done that, and he's like, oh, let's take a picture. I'm like, cool, what's up, dude? And I have a picture right beside him, and I didn't know who it was until I went and I looked him up. I said, who is that guy? And I said, he has 7 Badwaters. Oh, he has all this guy. I was like, this dude. He didn't even tell me what he's done, right? So that's when the ego came into play. And I was like, and that's one thing I've learned: the better the runner, the less they're gonna tell you, because the more they know who they are.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, right? So Harvey Lewis, man, of course, Dean. I think Dean was the one after I read his book. I think that was it. Dean. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a Badwater one day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true,
of course,
man.
Walmsley,
of course. Yeah. And those are all quiet, humble guys, like you just said. You're not going to catch those guys talking or bragging about themselves. They're just quiet, mellow guys, and they can go out and crush it. I mean, and not only crush it at a race, but they're just quietly running big mileage at home by themselves, whether anybody's watching or not. That's just what they do.
But there's something about that, right? With the ego. And then I always think, like, when you appreciate what you have, you'll get more. Right?
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And it's hard because we get so caught up on more instead of being okay with what I have and just being able to run 100 miles without injury. We would try to go out there and sub at 18 at Rocky. We went out hard, and I didn't have the best race because the year before I went and ran an 18:15 without even trying. I told people I didn't even try. But I let the expectations go. There's something about expectations as well. If you can just enjoy the moment and don't expect anything, you get more joy out of it than try to go out there and get nothing out of it. There's something else that I'm trying to figure out there as well. So like my next goal is like, I'm not expecting anything, but let me just enjoy this pain and this moment and overcoming it.
Rather than setting yourself up for a 19-hour finish, or I don't even know what a good time at Rocky Raccoon is. Say you plan on a 19-hour finish and you come up a little bit short, you're 19:10, and then you're disappointed in yourself, and it's a bad experience.
Well,
a
sub 24 Rocky's tough. A sub 24 Rocky's tough. Everybody talks about Rocky's fast. Rocky's not a fast 100. It's set up to be it's not a fast 100 because those roots come into play, because it only takes one bad fall. Your hip flexors hurt, you've been out there and you have to pick up your hip flexors just that much over that route before, you take one bad fall, you're in trouble. So it's not a fast 100. Everybody talking about it's not a fast 100.
But it's a flat 100 pretty much though, right? Flat-ish. It's not that flat.
Maybe, but it was still I ended up getting 7,200, but I don't know, man. Like I always tell people, I don't think there's a such thing as a fast 100. But I guess if people say, until you've been there, then you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. Do you ever think back to like, I mean, I guess you must, if Rocky Raccoon is on your sobriety birthday, you must really think back to the old days then. Like sometimes I think back to, you know, drinking with my buddies, being messed up, being on drugs even. And I just wonder like I feel like a different person. Now I'm out on the trails like all night long doing this crazy stuff. Like, do you ever think back and just wonder like WTF, like how did I get here, you know?
Uh, yes, it's been a wild journey. I tell people, there's no way if you would have told me I couldn't even leave my garage. I couldn't even, because I was so drunk. I didn't want to leave my garage, you know?
Yeah.
I wanted to mow the yard 2, 3 times so I can sit out there and drink all day, you know? and and like if you would have told me back then that 11 years I'd be right here, I'd tell you were crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy, you know. So I don't know. I always tell people just keep moving forward, man. And I always encourage people when I see them down. I said, man, don't, because I've been there. I've been that guy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think hope brings a lot. As long as you have hope, you can go forever, man. I always tell people find hope in something, and whatever it is, find hope and joy in something. Just keep moving, and that's what it's all about. I think, especially for a male, finding your purpose as a male, you can live forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why is that males need to find a purpose like that? What's that all about?
I think it's just in our DNA. I think, you know, for a husband, for a male, it's our purpose, and we have to protect, and we have to and have our purpose, and protect and provide. That's just in our DNA. And as long as we have that, what do you think? Why people, when they retire, they die? They don't, it's their finish line was over. That's why I always tell people, UPS is just a stepping stone for me. You know, I'm gonna retire, and as long as you have something else to live for, you can go. It's just like next time you do a 100-miler, don't say I'm gonna do a 100-miler, do a 110-miler, and see where your energy is at mile 92. It can go because your mind is wired to go 110 miles. And as long, and like you were saying, I was listening to one of your podcasts about the 200-miler. As long as you hit it right on the dot, don't quit at night. Because the minute you can get, it's something about the mind just resets when it sees another day, another daylight. It's wired to go. Having at 100 starts at noon, and then from 2 to 3 in the morning, 2 to 4 in the morning, I'm just fatigued. I'm in a worse spot. But I tell my pacers, look, how long before the sun starts, before the sunrise? We're like, man, we got 30 minutes. The sun rises, and it's another day, right? And your energy goes to the roof. I didn't sleep that day till 8 o'clock the next day. So why is that? It's because we have something to live for. Our minds has something to live for. It's just wired to go. And like these guys like Harvey Lewis running 300 plus miles, they figure that out. You see, they figured it out that they can go and keep going and just keep moving forward. And he's got that next level mindset. It's always finding your next level mindset. It might not be a 100-miler, but let's do a 5K. Let's do a half marathon. Let's do a marathon. You know what I'm saying? And then find your next level.
Yeah. It's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's at a different level.
Exactly.
But you're right. You almost have to find like a little hack in your mind to keep yourself going. That's what you almost have to trick yourself. You're right. If you tell yourself you're going to run 110 miles, you're not going to be nearly as tired at 100 miles. If I go out and tell myself I'm going to run 26 miles today, I start getting tired at like mile 18 or 20. But if I tell myself I'm going to go out and run 100 kilometers today, 62 miles, I don't get tired till like mile 40, 45. You know,
ain't that crazy?
I don't know how that works.
You know, and that's what think about it. You know, I call it the ultra mindset, man. Trying to reprogram the mind. The question is, can you teach the ultra mindset? That's the question. You know, I always tell people you have to have 5 things. You have to have the mind, the heart, the lungs, the gut, and the why. You have to have it all together. If one is off, you go into that race and you're doubting yourself, or your heart's not there, or your gut's not there, or your lungs aren't there, your why's not there, if something's not there, yeah, you're gonna have a hard time out there. You might be able to gut it out, literally gut it out, but you're gonna have a hard time out there. So really putting those things together and getting out and really understand those. And I always tell people, work on your weaknesses. We all like to run. Running is fun, right? We can go out and do a 4 or 5 hour run. 6-hour run, but what is your weaknesses, and write those down. Be aware. I think self-aware comes along. Being self-aware, like me, I can't drink a beer, but I'm okay with that. I was self-aware with that. The minute that I said I cannot drink one beer, my mind stopped. But I can run 100 miles. You see? So that's the thing about being self-aware of your weaknesses. Why are you going to hang out with these guys that are not going to be pushing you forward to your goals? I always tell people this: your friends are doing one or two things, either pushing you towards your goals or pulling you away from your goals. A real friend's pushing you, it's telling you, go for it, go for it. That's a real friend. And that's being self-aware of what's going around your surroundings.
You strike me as someone who's mentally strong. I feel like in an ultra marathon, that's probably one of your assets. Would you agree with that or no?
Yeah. I'm gonna gut it out. Like, I'm not gonna, no matter what happens, my last 50K where I split my knee right down. I mean, you could almost see the bone, and I was sitting there. So it was 32 miles. I was about 4 or 5 miles out, and I'm pushing. I took a root. I fell down. It just split it wide open, and I was wobbling. I knew it was bad. I didn't want to look at it. This was September, and I got to the next aid station. There was a little kid right there. There's blood going all the way down my knee, and it's on my It's in my Instagram. And the little kid, and I'm like, do you want to be an Ultrarunner? Look at that. He almost puked. The little kid almost puked. But I wobbled 3 miles to the finish line. I said, I'm not going to finish. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to finish this race. I figured out later. Ended up getting stitches. Should I have done it? I don't know. I always tell people, don't do what I do. You know what I'm saying? I said, you do what you do. But I gut it out. If it's there, I'm going to gut it out. And I think pain, you can shut pain off. I think if you're wise, strong enough, your pain, you can get to your finish line. So, yeah, I think the mind is there, you know.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, listening to you is inspiring. You know, you're just rattling off all this stuff that's inspiring. And I'm just thinking back to when you were in your active addiction. Like, did you still have that strong mental state then? Or is this something you had to build throughout the years after you quit drinking?
So I think with playing sports as a little kid, like I always tell people, put your kids in sports because they're programmed. It's a different type of program, right? Mm-hmm. So I think sports helped me out a lot because it's not overthinking. I was people, why are you overthinking? Don't overthink. Sign up for the race. Do what you can. We'll figure it out later. That's it. Yeah. Don't think about 100 miles. Think about A station to A station. I always tell people, Bandera 100K is a good example. 2 loops. We're talking 2, 5 aid stations. So first 1. So the lower the number, the better. 1 number, 5 aid stations. So all we're doing is aid station to aid station. We're 2, we're 3, we're 4, and then we go out to 2. That's it. Shut the mind off. Now, and so when I was a young kid, my coach said, "Why are you overthinking?" I used to play baseball. Put the ball in play. That's it. Put the ball in play. Don't overthink. If you think you're going to strike out, you're going to strike out. Don't think about negative stuff. Put the ball in play. So now when I go into a race, I'm like, okay, don't overthink. Let's start a watch. Let's have a good time. Let's just enjoy the moment, A station to A station.
Got it. So you're just living in the present moment. You're not worried about what's going to happen 10 miles down the road. You're just like, all right, let's have a good time here, right now.
And that's so hard to do because we don't do that enough, right? It's just like, can we right now, let me just enjoy this pain, right? Like this is like, it goes back to you paid good money for this.
Yeah.
This bonky feeling. All I have to do is put some food in me. That's it. You know, put some food in me and this pain will go, whatever it is, uncomfortableness, and it's going to be okay. And then I always tell people, it's always going to get harder than it gets easier. It gets harder than it gets easier. It gets harder than it gets easier. That's and true. I think the more you can do that, the more you can adapt, the more you can. Now, when I go to Habanero 100, it's 110 degrees. The race starts at noon. It's 16 loops of a 10K in a cattle ranch of sand. There'll be 64 people start, and only 26 people will finish. 3 will get their money back. Only 3 will sub a 24, right?
Okay.
And the one thing you always hear people say, I will never be here again. And that's one thing I've said, no, I love it. Let's do this again, right? Because you got to keep putting yourself in those situations to struggle and become stronger and struggle and become strong. Now, when you come to real life, you're like, why am I worried about this? It's out of my control. I can't worry about this. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that ultra marathons have taught me. Is like, I can only worry about what I can control. And if it's out of my control, why am I worried about it?
Yeah. You mentioned that you work at UPS. I worked at FedEx for a number of years, so I understand the job really well. And, but it's also tough to work that particular job and then train after hours. Talk about that for a minute. working at UPS 40, 50, Christmas time, you're working 60 hours. And then afterwards you come home and train. What's that like? How difficult is that? Or am I just a big
brutal,
pussy?
especially
Maybe
during Christmas time. At I have that Bandera Rocky Challenge. It's brutal. It just depends on, it depends on how they hammer you. And I wish I could tell you that they want me to succeed. They're not worried about my goals, or they're worried about their numbers.
Right,
So
right.
And I think when I hit that, my lowest low, I call it my lowest low in ultra running was 2017, 18. I mean, I was overtrained. I was underweight. I was skinny fat. I had to make a really adrenal fatigue. I had to make a really tough decision. It's like, hey, whatever I'm doing right now is not working. I have to change one thing. And I think that's, I was just working so much, and then waking up at 4 a.m, trying to run with the group. And I was like, I have to find time. I have to find sleep. I have to put better food in me. And the minute I kind of figure out, oh, I have a little gap between when I drop my kids off and I go to work, and I can do an hour run right there, and I slept an hour and a half more, it was like a game changer. Boom. And I was like, it was a whole different ballgame. I put on weight. I felt better. My energy was back to the top. And I was like, there it is. But you have to go through those tough moments to understand that it's not working. And I always tell people, just keep figuring it out. Keep putting those puzzles together to figure out what works for you. And everybody's different,
Yeah. Some people can thrive on 120-mile weeks, week after week. And other people like myself don't do so well with high mileage. Give me a 60, 70-mile week and I'm feeling pretty fit. And that's really all I need.
How many miles a week do you run?
Well, right now, 0. I've been rehabbing an injury for a few months. I've had plantar fasciitis for a little while. So I put a couple 100 miles on the bike trainer this week, though.
Oh, you have plantar fasciitis. Yeah, that's tough, man.
That sucks. How about you? What's your weekly mileage normally look like?
I think I'm strong right around 50 miles. I think I've noticed that I'm pretty strong at 50 miles because, walking, I walk 15 miles at UPS. So you add, you think about it, you add 5-6 miles running, that's 20 miles a week, and I didn't realize that. So one thing that we've noticed that I was looking at, especially with like habanero and 100-milers, especially 100-milers, that don't look at your mileage, but look at your steps you're taking every day. And I think 22,000 steps, 25,000 steps a day is the perfect mileage. And that's why I think, because I don't get any blisters. My feet are great, but I think there's something there with time on your feet. When people say time on your feet, don't look at your miles, look at your time on your feet. And I think I think that will keep you injury free as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying with your job. You're you got a lot of time on your feet. You're in and out of that truck. You're carrying heavy boxes. You're up and down stairs. That's all good training for ultra. So I don't think you need to cram 100 miles a week on top of the job that you're doing, because you're already putting in, say you work a 40-hour week, probably 20 of those hours are good training for an ultra.
Yeah. And I always joke with people. I always say, I don't know if UPS has made me a good ultra runner, or has Ultrarunner made me a good UPS driver. I hadn't figured it out yet.
Yeah, right.
It's true. Like there's something there,
Yeah, 100%. Do you have a website or anything for your coaching? How do people find you?
That's one thing we're building on right now. I'll be honest with you, man. I think the first couple of years, I was like, I didn't realize what I had, right? And I'm like, man, I've been doing this 5 years, and it's consistency. That's how you always tell people this. And that's what we're building right now. I have we're a team where we're trying to build a website and trying to get, that's why I try to put all my stuff in Insta stories. But I always tell people, work on yourself, man, and just keep putting your stuff out there and finding the right people there. So we're working on that website. We're working on trying to find, just trying to find the right training for everybody.
What do you mean, like training plans? What do you mean
by
that?
Well, the training plan, everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think self-awareness and trying to find like I said, a female male is a whole different person. 2-3 kids, a whole different person. How many hours are you working is a whole different person. So one thing I learned about working with people is that you have to really get to know people, Oh, yeah. I can give you a plan, but that doesn't mean that might put you in a hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times is really get to know the person, how their energy. So I like Marco Poloing people. I like one-on-one. How do they feel? How do they talk after the runs? You can feel people, right? They can fake it all they want. But when they're talking to you after, did they get a runner's high? Are they putting themselves in a hole? And I love communicating one-on-one. I love people. So that's one thing I was like, I love to get to know people first. I said, I might not be the right person for you,
Mm-hmm.
but I might help you find the right person. And that's one thing I enjoy is that really one-on-one communication.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it's all about as a coach, man. We're recording this on a Saturday. What's your training like today? Have you already gotten outside, or are you heading out after this, or what are you up to?
Yeah, I did 12 miles on the trails and just try to keep everything. So one thing I've learned with ultra running, it's like Saturday and Sunday combined. So I'll do 12, 18, and then I'll go 14, 20. And I'm trying to build up to a 50K, I think Coyote 50K in April. And then Wisconsin 50 miler. And then I'll come back down. Then I'll start to build back up. That's one thing I tell people is the body's just going to adapt. That's it. So I'll try to go up and go back down and go up and then go back down. And then that's it. That's really honestly, to tell you the truth, that's the secret. Slowly, it's like, think about ice baths, right? Just your body kind of adapts to it. And you're like, oh, it's not that bad, So it's kind of the way I see it. It's like slowly adapt. So I did 12 today, 18 tomorrow. Then next week I'll do 14, 20, 16. And then I'll find out when my energy starts to go down. Then my body says, that's my body telling me, okay, you probably need to chill out a little bit, and then we'll shock the body with that 50 miler. That'll be a 5 hours. And then we'll come back down, and then we'll build up to have it at an ice station. We'll shoot for about 8 hours. So that's 8-hour long run,
Mm-hmm.
and then come back down, and then we'll rest a little bit, and then we'll shoot out for a 21. I think the course record's like a 20 hour at, and we've missed a course record at Habanero twice already. When I tell you we missed it, the last loop, we've missed it like by, just gutted, our energies died. Mm-hmm. So I think we might go for that course record. And again, there goes the ego, right? Or we might just enjoy being out there, just another finish.
For sure. Right on, dude. Well, I like everything you stand for. I like what you're doing. You ever come to Colorado, man, look me up. We go out to Leadville every single year and help people get into the finish line by, crewing, pacing, whatever, man. So you ever come out this way, look me up. But it was a pleasure talking to you, man. You're an inspiration. Just keep doing what you're doing, brother.
When I get to Leadville, I'm gonna hire you as my coach, man.
Oh, absolutely. I would love it. I'm curious. Do you also incorporate like speed work or hill repeats or anything like that into your training?
So to me, in my opinion, you have to have that speed work. And I tell people short, nothing more than a minute 15, a minute 30, a minute 45. Do 2-3 times. So what you're doing is that we have to do what we hate to do, right? Mm-hmm. So it's different. So if you can, and that's why I like minutes and not miles. People say, man, I'm gonna do mile repeats. No, just train the mind to love it, something different. So I like 115, 130 on Tuesdays. I like doing 115, 130, a minute 45, do 2-3 times, 5K pace. It's something different. You're shocking the mind, you're shocking the legs, the strides get a little bit longer. The mind's, it's a little bit different, and you build your VO2 max up. So now that Z2, like today, this morning, it was 12 miles, 8-minute pace, 139 heart rate. You can do that forever, So it shocks it. So I always tell people, have that VO2 max on Tuesday. Everything else super easy, under 140 heart rate, and then get your a day strength work, and then I think you'll be fine, and you can just slowly add up those miles until you find out where you're like, okay, I need to chill out for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing for strength work? Like just once a week, couple times a week?
So one thing I really learned, and this is one thing about it. So I cannot build muscle into this little block, and I tend to overdo stuff. I like power, but it's timing. Everything comes down to timing. And I think our timing was off at Bandera Rocky. We put on too much power, and I actually put on 10 pounds of muscle, and I was like, man, I didn't realize it, so one thing was we dropped the miles and we put on the muscle. I just wanted to see, it was a test to see what was going to be the outcome, right? And it was like, now I know to maybe start in August, September, October, lay off of the power, the strength work. Now we've built the muscle. Now we're not going to be injury free. Now we got November, December. We have 2 months to really put up the miles. And now you hit that peak at Bandera and Rocky. So we hit that peak, 100K, and then Rocky 100 miler. Then we come back down, then build muscle again, and so. It's build muscle, use the muscle, build muscle, use the muscle. Mm. And
That's it,
I think
man.
that's the hardest part as an ultra runner, staying injury free, because that's the number one question you're always going to get, right? How many miles should I be running? How many miles should I be? I was like, don't overlook your building the hip flexors and your glutes, and I'm a bigger guy. Everybody always looks at me and was like, man, you're kind of bigger guy. I was like, well, that's how I run. Stronger. It's more power than speed.
Yeah. Are you incorporating stretching or yoga or anything like that?
I knew you were going to ask me that. No, I hate yoga.
Your
But that's
thing.
my weakness. That goes back to our self-awareness. I know I'm at a point where I'm off a little bit somewhere. I need to do more yoga. And that's what I was telling my wife. I said, maybe once a week we go find a yoga class. And, that goes a long way. And I think that's where I'm at right now. I need to add yoga.
Nice. I like it. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you doing this. It was a great conversation. And yeah, like I said, you ever come to Leadville, definitely look me up. But stay in touch, man. You're an inspiration, and I'm going to keep an eye on you. I'm looking forward to seeing what's in the future, brother.
Okay, thanks, dude. If you're coming to Texas, I'm telling you, come out to Rocky, holler at me, dude.
Okay, that's a
I have
good
crew down
possibility.
here. I'll give you all the tips.
That's a possibility. I have family in Texas, so you never know.
Yeah,
I may
and
come down
Bandera.
there.
I'm telling you, if you want a cool race, Bandera is the race, man.
Okay.
It's so cool. It's so challenging. I'm gonna do it until I can't do it.
Nice. I love it. Do you know a guy named John Sharp?
No,
Texas. Okay.
he sounds familiar.
Okay. He's another wild man in Texas. It's an ultra guy, and he's done those races, but he's also done a bunch of mountain races overseas and whatnot. And I wasn't sure if you knew the name. Well, cool, man. Great conversation. Yeah, man. Like I said, have a great day and definitely stay in touch, brother. Good talking to you.
Well, thanks for everything, dude. I appreciate it, man.
You got it. Take care, man. We'll see you.
Talk later.
Bye-bye.